Welcome to this guided series for new players for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. We're picking up on the 2nd of March 1963. The game's on pause for a reason which I'll explain in a little while. In the last part, the focus was completely on the basic mechanics of farming and also putting together this pretty substantial farm in this area here. And what I want to do in this part is go through the process of sowing, growing, and the beginning of the harvest of farming, because it's really important to understand how the fertility system works and how the fertilizers and the overall process slowly improves the fertility of the fields, because good fertility means good crop yields, which means therefore you've got more crops to work with. However, also in this video I want to talk about two other things which are interlinked, because we've now done the research that allows us to unlock the coal, iron and oil, and knowing where those resources are going to be quite key drivers with respect to how the overall economy is going to grow. And then what that then leads into the other part of the discussion we're going to have in this video is where are we going to put our key towns, and more importantly where our key industry is going to be. And I must admit, the oil map has thrown up some interesting possibilities which I will also talk about. But first, what I want to do is get back to farms and fertilizer. The reason for that is if you see here, this field is currently got a tractor working in it, and if you watch it very carefully, what you'll see is that as the tractor goes here, the fertility is increasing. So it's now got to 126%. But if I speed this up, what you will see is the tractor does not do the whole field. He will run until he runs out of fertilizer. And then we got a delivery there, and that's it. And you can see he's just finished now at 131%. The reason why that tractor came back is if I probably click on here, we're out of fertilizer. Now, the ordinary bio-based fertilizer is probably one of the more difficult things to control, even when you've got waste management enabled. The reason for that is that there is a fertilizer plant here, but you have to have waste management enabled for it. And what this plant actually does is it turns biomatter into fertilizer. Now, your source of biomatter when you've got waste enabled is from your waste collection system, and it predominantly comes from your residential areas. You can import it. Quick tip here, guys, tourist towns are a very good source of bio waste as well. The ordinary fertilizer will always be in relatively short supply, unless of course you import large quantities directly from the border all the time, but there will always be this lag with respect to the actual ordinary fertilizer. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn on the fertility overlay, because this is quite important. What you'll see is that a lot of these fields now are over 130%, 94%. In fact, they've all increased in fertility, because if you watch the previous part, when I was putting down the original fields, the default fertility at this level is 70%. And what actually happens is that through the winter, these fields have been accumulating fertility by a natural process. The way to think of it is that the fields have been left fallow through the winter, so they've been slowly increasing in fertility. But what they've also been given is the occasional burst of fertilizer being dumped on here, which is giving them the nutrient level. So through the winter, the fertility increases both naturally and by the application of the organic fertilizer. As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is very anecdotal, is that once if I let the game run, once the ploughing season starts, then the plain fertilizer starts to be ignored. But of course, during this cycle now, for the rest of the year till winter comes, what you need to do is start filling this back up again with the fertilizer ready for the next year. So this is where the annual cycle comes into it. Now you see that there's a tractor coming out here, and what you see now is the tractors are going out to start the actual sowing process. And as I mentioned in the previous part, what you're getting is the tractors coming out here, and some of them are coming back in again, I think, because some of them are still returning. But what you should see now is that the tractors, as they come back out into here, should start on these medium fields first. But of course, they've all got to get back into the station. This is, and what you see now is that the fact that these tractors now have got a rake on the back. So there is an animation that shows, and what you'll see is that these tractors will now go out and start working on these medium fields. And this one's doing quite well. And let me just see if I can look at the order. Yeah, these guys are going to here, here, and here, and we've got. I actually did buy an extra couple of tractors to try and speed up the process because these guys are very, very slow. So what we should get is all the tractors into these 6 medium fields, and then another 2 starting work on the large fields. But what I'm hoping to show you, I think this guy's probably got the biggest progress, is that what happens when this guy finishes his field. In fact, if I can click on him like that and we put him up there, you can see he's virtually empty of fuel already, so that's probably not a good thing. Yeah, this one might be a better example. Anyway, guys, so what I'm going to do is just let the game play on so that until this tractor gets to the end. Okay, welcome back. The first field here is just being finished, and what you'll see is that because this tractor's out of fuel, and just to show you that, he will always go back to the farm to get more fuel. This is the reason why it's very important to make sure that you've got fuel in your farm. But I'm hoping what he will do is see he's now fueled up, and what he will do now is go to the next field on the list, which will be a big field. And so I'm not exactly sure which one. And this is the reason why when you allocate the fields, you kind of allocate them out in a spiral, because this is going to be the core of the farming process. Now, while this guy's coming up to the end, I just want to mention the other mechanic in the game, is that down here you've got a minimum fertility. Now, what happens is that now all our fields are over 50%, but if you have a field that doesn't have reached the minimum fertility, that field will not be ploughed or sown. But on the positive side is that during the summer, while that field is sat around basically doing nothing in the way of contribution of your crops, what that field will do is slowly increase in fertility. Now you can see, because this guy's still got fuel, he's not gone back to the farm. And what you can do, if we follow him now, see where he's going, what he will do is head off for the next field in the list for allocation. And so what he's going to do is go into here. Now what he will do is now plough this entire field, even if he runs out of fuel. And this is a bit of an optimization from two levels. One, the medium fields will start to grow and get to the point of being ready for harvest quicker than the larger fields. So these will be the first fields that will be harvested. And what you can really do is optimize this process greatly by actually making sure that the distance between the first field and the second field is kept to a minimum. But more importantly, what will happen is this tractor will save on fuel, because he will keep sowing even if he runs out of fuel until that field is finished. Then he will go back to the farm. Now, we did get a message popped up saying that we've now finished researching chemistry. Now, I am pushing this research forward. We actually unlock the quickest way to do it is to come down here and look at fossil fuels. Yeah, we've now unlocked the chemical plant. Now, what I would like to do now is unlock this synthetic fertilizers. I've got absolutely no idea what the research pattern on that is, because what I would like to do is to be in a position where we can make our own synthetic fertilizer, because that will save money. But we will need to plastics. Where's the synthetic fertilizer? There it is. So what we got to do is select fertilization. I think the first one in this process, all it does is just say study the impact on fields. I don't think it actually gives any benefit, unless there's like a hidden effect which increases the natural increase in fertility if you've researched that, because you understand it. What we got here is a factory. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set that to min 0 for the moment, because we've got no chemicals, and I don't really want to talk about chemicals at the moment. I want to build the second clothing factory first before we bring that online. So what we're going to do now is just leave our guys here, plough the fields. Now this plough cycle will go roughly to the beginning of May for a couple of months. And while that's going on, what I want to do now is talk about the map here. And we're going to start with coal. Now I was aware of the coal deposit up behind here, and that seems to be the closest one, which means that's going to be our source of coal. And what I'm going to do now is officially kind of look at the option of what we're going to do. And I think this is one that we will be using. So what I'm going to, and to give it context, what I'm going to do is see if I can put the actual mine down. Now, of course, one problem you do get is the fact that it says here you need a free excavator, so we can't put a mine down there. But we've got a coal mine there. So the next thing we need to look at is iron. So we got iron up over here between the two lakes. So, and we've got metallurgy. Must admit, I'm not that overly impressed. So we got iron there. The problem is it's a little bit curved in behind these two lakes, though we could come out round here. And so we're probably looking at potential iron industry here. We got more iron there. Now, one thing you do need to be aware of, we find the steel mill. What you see here is you need nearly 2 tons of coal for every 1 ton of iron to produce steel. That means that really what you need is for every iron mine, you need 2 coal mines. I do like that. We could bring coal in from there. So we could possibly talking about iron mine about here, but it's a little bit far away. And this is where we now need to start thinking about our towns and where we're going to place things. I'm just going to look at the oil. The oil is quite interesting actually, because we've got a patch of oil over here, and more interesting, we actually got a bit of oil right smack bang in the center of Under's farm. Great. This is one of the reasons why you really need to expose the resources as early as possible. This is a random map, so as the statement says, it is completely random. But if you're playing on a custom map or call it a pre-built map, knowing where the resources are can be quite important, because I know as someone who creates custom maps, I'm quite stingy with respect to the resources that I actually put on the map. So if you happen to build over a key area, that could give you a lot of problems. But I'm thinking here is that we've got a chemical plant here which uses 1.2 tons of oil, and I'm pretty sure the synthetic fertilizer factory doesn't need it. I'm just wondering if I could, where would I put it? Because we got this area here, but we got this building here, haven't we? With the metro. So for a little bit of long-term planning, yeah, it's going to mess up my kind of lovely highway pattern here. What we could do is get a chemical industry going here. Now, one of the problems you will have with chemicals is that these factories don't produce very much. We've got a big chemical plant here, which is pretty big, major. I'm trying to think where I could put it. The alternative is that we put the chemical plant down here, but then again we've got oil over here, and we could go to the opposite extreme, that we could put we've got a couple of oil fields here. How big are those oil fields? Now, I'm not thinking in terms of making fuel. What I'm thinking in terms of is getting the actual oil which we can use to make chemicals and other things. So we've got 2 oil fields there, another one there. That's nice. That's 84, 85%, 86% there, 87% there. And there's a, how am I feeling it is, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to spot the oil because it's right on, saying it's in this area here. So we got a little patch here, we got another 61% here. So we got three oil field, three pump jacks that we could put the chemical industry in this area because we got a single road. And then what we can do then is, because we got so much oil coming in, we could then put the other infrastructure there. I mean, I was talking about putting some gravel construction industry in here. Let's just check out the gravel now. What I'm trying to do here, and I'm kind of taking it a bit slower than I would normally do, is try and explain the thought process you need about the expansion of your overall thing. We got gravel quarry 39% there, 58% there. We got 61% there. So say 64%, 65, 67. So we got gravel there, 67%. Now these here are the best options when it comes to producing gravel. We got 71% there. I think what we're going to do is we're going to put another one. We're going to plan to have two in this area. Yeah, I think this is where I'm going to put my construction industry. 73%. So I'm going to put you there and there. Yeah. That will deal with the gravel side coming into here. That will also be useful if once it's working, we can supply the gravel to here. And of course we got our overall construction industry here. And what we could do is, because the town was expand this way, we could create a forest in this area around the oil pump. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to come here and we're actually going to create a forest of pines. Press the control key to grow out this. What I'm going to do is put in a whole load of trees in here. And what this is going to be is our wood generator, because we're going to need to be able to produce wood for construction as well. But wood is only used, or lumber is only ever used in construction. As far as I can remember, there's nothing to do with the industries. So one set of tree fellas here, wood cutting post and sawmill, working could then provide us with enough resources here. Yeah, so I'm thinking chemical industry in this area. We can always knock this down. Use this, I'll put another bus stop down here to be able to, yep, so it all makes sense, guys. The only thing is we could, I'm just wondering whether we could get a quick sneaky win here. Let me just see if we can get fossil fuel. It won't take much to build a pump jack. We got a road situation here, so we can put the pump jack just there. Now, one thing you can do is, that's 90, that's 300. We put you about there. That's within power range as well. And then what I'll do is we'll put a little bit of an overground pipeline here. We don't need anything. It's going to have to, we have to cancel that because the pipelines are going the wrong way. I'll just do this as a demonstration with pipelines. Generally, I don't like using overground pipelines because they're kind of a little bit messy like this. Yeah, okay, we're not going to bother. We're going to go underground. Yeah, overground pipelines are, by their very nature, messy. And what we can do then is we come into here, if I pick up a fuel loading depot just here, and then I can probably put an overgrowth. Yeah, we just done another set of research. Okay, let me just go and check that out. We're now on the 21st of April, and let me just go and check the research. Synthetic fertilizers, that's what we're going to do. And we're getting through the research quite quickly. We will put our attention back down to the town here, there, but I just want to show you a little thing that you can do, guys. I'm going to build that road there. Just build it. In fact, we're going to build all of this to spend some of those lovely dollars underground. Let's make sure that's oil. Yep, we've now built this, and I just need to build that in for fire protection. Now, what I've got an example here is the fact that what we can build a simple complex like this, because the pump jack itself is exactly as the name describes, is a pump. So it's a has the ability to push oil to another source, and the oil storage is passive. So it can pump to there. Now, the actual fuel collection point here is not actually kind of passive or aggressive, but what happens is when a truck comes in here, the truck will then pull the oil from here. So by doing this, what I'm going to do is just let this run in the background, and this will eventually fill up, and then this will start complaining the fact that it can't export any oil. But what it will do is provide us with some a short-term oil, so that we can focus on our chemical industry over here. The other thing I'm also thinking, what I am going to do, sorry, is get rid of this. Just use one of the few times I use the bulldozer, because I think what I'd like to do here is we push the rail out here. I want to leave plenty of room, so we're going to push out this way like that, come round like that, and what we're going to do is run straight through to the border so that we've got a connection with NATO. So just put this in, because now I'll be completely upfront, I'm not the greatest fan for exporting large quantities of stuff to NATO, but there's a little bit of an opportunity when you've got a NATO base like this close by. Now, we're not going to build a town nearby, so we don't have to worry too much about the bits and pieces. We now got a connection to NATO, and of course what we've got here is a power connection. So we've got an opportunity here to draw power from here to this area should we need it. Or alternatively, we could actually sell power to NATO to earn dollars as well once we got our power stations up and running. So what we've got here is a rail connection to this point here. Now, one thing I am going to do is we need to run a railway up there. I'm going to put a rail junction. I know I've put the rail line right through our forested area here, but we can always extend it down this way. I'm going to put in, start here, bring this off like that, run you up like this, bring you down into, I think this should be bold enough for what we want. And what this will do is run into our construction industry here. Now, I'm not going to take this any further, bearing in mind that we've also got a second NATO station there. So we got a junction that will take us into our construction industry. And of course, we're going to have to draw the workforce from either here or over there. And the other thing I'm going to do is we got a big patch of gravel thingy stuff there, which isn't much use. So what we'll do is we'll run out here like that. Again, we'll be a little bit more dramatic here, and we'll run this line up through into here. And we'll just accept that. Now the reason I'm putting this out, because we're going to need to push out this way to get to where we're going to put our iron and steel, or our coal system in here. But the first thing we're going to need to do now, before we can get out here, I think we're going to have a town in this area. Yeah, I'm liking the town in this area. We got the little, yeah. I mean, it's a bit close to this dam. Now, one thing I do want to talk about a little bit, okay, I'm just going to pause, is the fact that this is also the point in the game when you look at your starter town and decide on whether it's got a role in the future. And by the role in the future, I mean that quite sometimes, especially on custom maps, your first town is about survival and building up your initial economy. And quite often you're not quite so lucky as we've been here. There's no major resources nearby which you can turn around and say, yes, I want to develop this town further into a major industrial centre. So sometimes what you've got to do is decide that your starter town has fulfilled its role big enough, and then just switch your attention away from it. But one thing I will suggest is that if you've got a town like this, it's close to the border, and you've got a relatively small industry, but you're not going to grow it. One industry that you can look at, which is tourism, is make it into a tourism town. And one of the things I tend to think is that the starter town, if I make it into a tourist town, I kind of make it the historic centre of the economy where people want to come and see it. And of course, you've got a dual opportunity here if you want to make this into a tourist town, because what you can do is bring in NATO tourists and Soviet tourists into the town. Now, in the future video, I will talk about tourism, but that's not really where I want to go at the moment. Now, the next thing I want to do is, you can see here, we've now got our clothing factory here. I'm just going to open this up like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to come to here. Where's the guy, the one that does the importing? That's my fuel guy. You're bringing in the fertilizer. We've got a couple of covered holes here. You're actually exporting. Okay, what? You're distributing food. It doesn't pay to mix bits and pieces. I think this was meant to be. I think what we're going to do is buy a covered hole in here for the moment and sort the mess out later on. Now, what we need to do is get chemicals into here. Now, this has got an internal storage of about 6 tons. So what I want to do is get a covered hole here. But I don't really want to get one of these great big ones bringing in... Oh, no, this one will bring in 2.7 tons of... So, yeah, make it... Okay, we're going to bring you in. And then what we're going to do is tell them to import the chemicals. And what we're going to do is drop the chemicals off there. And we will tell them to... There, and we'll say... 50%, because it delivers 2.7 tons. This is the type of mass you've got to do. By setting it to 50%, what that mean is that when what will happen is the lorry will deliver up to 3 tons, and then when it drops down, he will possibly pick up another 2.7 tons and then push it towards the 6 tons. So we're going to get some workers into here. We'll start with 30 workers here. Now, one thing you do need to consider, you can see here that we are now down to 1,290 tons. We're only on the 12th of May. Now, the part of that problem is that at the moment we are exporting food and alcohol. But if we go to the economy, You see, we are making a modest profit, which is pushing our income up. But when it comes to crops where you've got a finite source, what you're looking to do is get your maximum bang per buck from here. So, and the other thing we're also going to do is we're going to add you and you to here. In fact, I think what I'm going to do now, so I think I'm going to remove them all and just see how it goes. We may need to modify it because the risk that we've got is the fact that we may drain the heating plant, but we're on the 12th of May. The temperature's pretty good. So this is the time to experiment, not the middle of winter. So what we're going to do is let these guys just come over here, sort themselves out. We've got quite a lot of workforce here. So we may need to get some more buses on this. And what we're going to do is just let them start to wander around and do their thing. And then we're going to see what we can actually do. Now we're on the 13th of May when you can see most of these fields are actually growing. And it looks like with the number of tractors that we've got, we are going to finish this. In fact, we have finished. Now we've still got this one sowing. So with this one sowing, we got everything being sown at this end. Or is there anything still waiting to be? Yeah, so what we've managed to do is with the 8 tractors that we've got in here, we've managed to sow all these fields by the middle of May. So we're actually going to get the sowing into there. You can see the fertility. And if we come back to these fields here, now what you will see now, and it's the process has already started, is that these guys are running around, and what they are doing now is they are adding to the fertility. This is the next phase. Once the sowing season comes to an end, what will happen is these tractors will go out and start adding more nutrients to the field, which is going to increase the fertility. Now they won't carry on doing this endlessly, but the advantage is because we've got this constant liquid fertilizer being poured in here, they will keep adding to that little bit of fertilizer over time. So through the growing cycle, you've got what you've got now is the fact that the tractors are now adding fertility to it. You can see this one's up to 101%. Now it's not going to, it could possibly raise the amount because I'm not sure how many applications they got. That's something that Bill Joe might know, because what you'd have to do is do a test and then see how many times the field is actually visited by the tractors. But I would guess that what happens is they go round in a rotation, so they may come back after they've done all the other fields. And of course the key factor is, especially when you're not auto purchasing, is making sure that you've got a big plentiful supply of a liquid fertilizer. You can see here that because we're importing this fertilizer, this is building up because this won't be used until December. Oh, so that out of the way, we can now start to shift our attention to here, and you can see we're now starting to get a little bit of a flow of goods in here. And what I want to do now is, because with this is being used, I'm going to adjust this build here, and I'm actually going to stop the export of food because technically what we will get is and we're going to go to food. What's the, not food, sorry, clothes. We've got 57 tons of clothes in here. So what we're going to do is tell it to export clothes once it actually gets to reduce this down to about 50%, which means that once this gets, oh, maybe that's a bit high. I think what I might do is, trouble with this is, no, that's way too low. So I think we'll set this to 40%. So as soon as this the amount of clothes we produce reaches a certain point, these guys will go and pick up 6 tons of clothes. I think they should pick up 4.5 tons of clothes. And then what they will do is export the clothes. Now the reason I've switched off the food comes down to cost-effective return. Now if we look, because we look at prices, The clothes we will earn 1,428.59 rubles per ton of clothes. Food has already dropped down to 113.46 rubles per ton. So this price has already started to fall because we've been exporting so much, and you can actually see that it's not quite so good. In the new update, which you will most likely be playing on, you get a far better breakdown than these bars, which because that's been improved. Now, if we look at alcohol is still holding up. Basically, now what will happen is that the amount of food stored in the warehouse, once it gets to 57.78 on the food factory here, what will happen is that this will go and says it will no longer be able to produce. So we'll just let that run up to, so you can see it's just approaching the 56.75. Right, so you can see it's just now approaching here, and it's just going to hit 7.8. And what you'll see is it says now we can no longer export food. Now, if you really want to micromanage this for profit, what you can do is just drop this right down and say I only want 10 workers in here just to keep this topped up, because effectively all we're doing now is supplying food to our store over here, and we've already got quite a lot of food stored in there. And what you can do, if you just want a little bit of extra insurance on your overall, if we come to here, what you could do is come to, where is it, unloading the food, you could push that to say 80%, and what that guy will do is pick up the food from here and top up the overall reserve to that area there, and he will top that up. But what we're going to be banking on is to make money from the fabric factory, so we'll probably increase that a little bit. And so we're going to get our resources into the fabric factory, and we'll start to make some money eventually once we actually get enough clothes in here. But of course we've got to keep that reserve of clothes to supply our own store. Now the alcohol factory, probably can reduce that a little bit as well, so that what we're going to be trying to do is get the main workforce into here. But we do need to make sure that we've got I think we'll be okay. I just want to make sure that the just want to watch the buses. How's their unemployment? We've got 37 people unemployed. I think what we could do is get another bus. What buses are we running on this? What I tend to try to do is have the same buses on the route. This is the SKD 706. So that's it. And what we'll do is we'll pick up this route, and we'll just add a fourth bus to this route. What that will do is ensure that we don't have too many workers waiting here. You don't want to empty the bus stop out completely. From an ideal point of view, you don't want to empty the bus stop out completely, but you don't want hundreds of people stood here working, because they will only wait so long before they go off and try and find something else to do. So we do need to push the workers into here, and our main profit margin is going to come from this area here. 130th birthday. You can see our actual tractors working up here. This is stopped at 103%. Now what we do need to do is, right, what we are doing now is, you can see our crops are dropping down to about, I think the actual distribution office is set to here. Actually, there's one thing I do want to do here is I want to get well, I want to sort that out. Yeah, I forgot about this, sorry. The story of this game is that what I am going to do is get a couple of fire trucks out here. This is 23, this is 23. 62. This is 2362. This is 2080, but this is going to need to cover a wide range. This is 1785 kilometers an hour. I think what we're going to do is get one of each, and then we're going to get the firefighters out to here. The reason I'm putting this, I've built this fire station, is to ensure that we've got full coverage over this area now, because we've got some valuable assets out here that we don't want to lose. What I will do is get the groundworks on that, because we're going to need this built as well, ready for the winter. And probably this is still filling up quite nicely, but that's not a problem. I'm starting to I like the idea of the chemical factory out here, but and we've got that there. Actually, what I do need to do is, how many free flats we've got? We've only got very few free flats left now, which means we are moving to the point where we are actually could get some over 21. So I think what we're going to do is start to expand out this way, but I don't have any more. So I think I've already put one block out here, which has got 110. I think we're going to expand here. That can still get to the metro station should we need to. I think we're going to put out, get some more expansion this way. We've got a road there to the metro station. So what's this one here? This is a large block. I don't like the what we call it, quality of the flats. I think we're going to stick with these for the moment. What we'll do is we'll tuck in. The only possible problem we're going to have with these is education. So what I'll do is I'm going to put, whoops, I'll put 1, 2, maybe 3 round like that. We'll run the road behind like this, like that, round the back here, so that we got, you can, what's under here? I'd like that road to come into there, and then we'll hook up. We'll go cheapskate. We'll put that there, and then what we'll do is we'll put a asphalt plant footpath behind, something like that. Run new rounds like that to run you into there, like that. And if I just hook this up with mud footpaths, because what I want to do now is, well, set the roads. I just want to check the coverage. We got get to the hospital. We can get the school is going to be a bit of an issue because the school's there. So we may have to put in a second school. That one can get to the school. And this one can get to the school. This one can get to the school. Oops. One thing I do need to make sure. Yeah, we've got Get Citizens switched off. And so what we're looking at is the need for a school. How many? Well, we've got a problem with the school anyway, so we need a new school. That's because I've been so focused. This is how this game can sneak up on you. I think what we'll do is we definitely need a school, because we're probably going to get uneducated workers if we're not careful. We're not getting something. Yeah, we need a school. the moment we got a relatively small school, I think what we'll do is we'll put the school like that way round there, and then what we can do is hook this through to there and you through to there, and we'll create a cross path, whoops, to there. And of course, one of the advantages of having auto purchase is that we can fix problems. Of course, in realistic mode I would be in fairly serious trouble now, but what we can do is connect this up to here like that, and of course we need to set I think the other problem we've got is that this is 46%, this is set at 55%, so we need to drop that to 45%, because our average is 46%, which is not going to help either. You need to be 40%. You need to be down to 40%. Our loyalty is falling, so what we're going to need to do is start to think about a way to increase our loyalty, and the solution to that is radio, so which is quite advantageous because the fact that we are just about to finish synthetic fertilizers. So we've now kind of built our area here. What I'm going to do is pick up this guy, get you working on these bits of roads. In fact, we'll get you building in to here and possibly there as well. Did I just see? Okay, we got illuminated footpaths through it. That's okay. So we've now just finished this research, and what we need to do now is we need to get our loyalty up because it's down to 46%, which is not good. So what we're going to need to do now is go the broadcast route, if I can find it, which is this route here. So what we're going to need to do now is research this, and in this where it says influence of radio broadcast. So we need to do these researches first. So what we're going to do is start researching that. Yeah, I think because we're now pulling the residents from, push that to 45%. And what you'll see now is we've got 10-year-olds in there as well. So we're looking good from that point of view. Have we actually exported any? No, we're only exporting oil on that now because we're still working on, yeah. So we're going to need to get more workers into here. So how are we doing? So economically we're losing money now because we need to get more workers up into this area. Yeah, we're really going to need to start getting the workforce into this clothing factory so that we can make some money. Not that it makes that much difference. Probably another factor is if we look at imports. Yeah, we're now importing crops because we've now run the full cycle and we're having to bring crops in. And of course our harvest is not yet finished, but if we show you here, you can see at the moment we're on 24th of June, and I think what I'm going to need to do now is just let the game run a little bit and get sorted out. So what I'm going to do is cut the video here and just let the game run. Okay, welcome back. We are just coming up to the 8th of July 1963, and just to show you this, I've been watching these fields, and you'll see that this medium field that had its dose of chemicals has not actually been given a second dose, and we are now coming up towards the time when the harvest will start, but you will see that the harvest will not start until this field, its growing cycle, reaches 100%. And if I kind of show you around here, some of these are quite low, and if you come down to the last field that was actually sown, you can see this has only got 33% growth. So there's a very real possibility that this field may not be completely ready till very late in the season. And then what will happen is that the trucks may not be able to harvest it. What are you doing out here? Oh, looks like we've got one guy who's just managing to struggle out here. Looks like he's actually going to give this field a dose of fertilizer. So he's going to give this field a little shot of fertilizer. Maybe where fertilizer is applied when the growth progress reaches a certain point. Maybe it's like 30% or 25%. Something I didn't know. But if we show you here, we are 91%. Now, to give you a bit of an update went on, I had a little bit of a glitch. You can see my happiness has dropped. The reason for that is that I did an adjustment to supply close to the local store, but I didn't really, but I underestimated the amount of crops that clothes that were being produced. So we ended up with a shortage of clothes. So what I had to do in the end is put it back to the customs post for a little while. But I think we've now turned that around. And if I show you here, our happiness is, I'm kind of starting to think maybe it's time to, yeah, it says we've still got 6 that are still unable to get clothes. Maybe it's time to think about possibly a pub, but that will be a subject for possibly the next future video or a future video. But I just want to get this growth pattern get up here. Economically, we're kind of not really exporting any clothes at the moment. I don't think we've exported any clothes at all. Actually, we look at exports now. At the moment, we're only exporting oil and alcohol, so we're not really making that much money. So we're still waiting for the big bang to kick in, and partly because I, of course, stole all the clothes to replenish our store, which is over here. So we've now got plenty of clothes in the factory here. So that's something else that we need to consider. But hopefully, as our workforce builds up here, we will get there. Are we getting any? Yeah, we are getting some fabric being produced. And we've got 6.3 tons here. We've got 9.44 tons of crops in there. I could... What was the percentage we set here for... where was the one that I'm using to export clothes? It's this one here. Yeah, it's the same 40%, which is 40% of 57 tons. It's about 20 tons. Problem is I can't reduce this. We could reduce this down and force it, but I don't really like that. I think what I might do is just kind of put this out, and I've kind of overloaded the food, but we've now reduced this to 45 tons. By adjusting the one of the sliders that you don't want is a way that you can actually get a finer bit of granularity on the actual size of the warehouse. Anyway, guys, let's get back here. We're now on the 21st of July. We are now at 98%. So as you can see, we are now in the harvest cycle. In fact, looks like our first field has now reached 100%. And what you will see now is this guy will come out, and you can see he's now starting to drop the crops into the field. This is an infinite store, but you can see a covered haul has come out now. He will pick up everything from here, and then what he will do is sit here loading up until he gets a full load. Now, one of the characteristics of the game is that it will tend to allocate one covered hole to one field. That's the reason why in here, so this is the reason why you need the same number of covered holes in the farmers as you have harvesters. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8 harvesters, and we got 8 covered holes. Now you see there's a couple of extra ones in here. The reason for that is that what can happen, especially if you're using mud roads and you've got a really big farm like this, what can happen is that the crops start to pile up in the fields, and then the harvester finishes. And so what you need is a couple of extra covered holes, which will then kind of pick up the slack when necessary. Now, if you look at these fields, you see these fields have still got quite some way to go. This is why you do the medium fields first, because you can start to get a quick win. And what we'll see is that this internal store will start to fill up but also more importantly, the crops will start to go into here. Now, of course, what we're gonna do is put this onto here now. Now, what we're going to do is set this to 10% at least, or maybe 20% begin with. Now, 20% of 8,000 tons is what? 10% is 800. Yeah, maybe 10%. I would really wish it could go lower. Well, actually, what I'll do for the fun of it, actually, guys, is we'll set it to 0. And what we might do is just wake up the train. But what the train might do is wait until it gets to a single load. And what we'll do is we'll increase this, yeah, to 100% now. Now, sometimes when you're getting things set up, you need to micro it. Now, if you actually look at this train, he's gone all out like this. And he's actually gone to the border because I didn't... Oh, thank you, game. What we need to do is remove the customs shed now. Because he's gone the wrong way. We're going to go and buy some more crops, but that's beside the point. I say, when you're first starting out and you're not sure what number of crops is, you will need to micromanage your train distribution offices. I mean, to be honest, we're probably going to need that there. So we've now finished this broadcast. Wow. One thing we are doing with this university research is we're certainly powering through it. And what we're going to do now is just come here and we're just going to research radio. You're working on footpaths. Anything else? What I'm going to do is pause the game, turn on auto search and just let it run, let you guys detect. Because I made that mistake, I'm going to have to assign these guys to these footpaths so that we can actually build them in, because the road crews won't build their footpaths with lamps on them. There's no point cancelling it. I think what I would like to do here is start to push the road crew out here. Now, I don't know if you noticed that, but if I come back to here, see where this says that it's unable to access. The reason it's unable to access this bit is because this is a one-way road. So when you're building with one-way roads, it can get a bit complicated sometimes when you're actually building out the roads. So just to wind this video up, what we'll do is we'll go back to if we can get our follow the train, because this is actually a shorter train, so I do wonder whether he's actually... That's interesting. Why is he... Now what you're going to see here is, because the train is picking up, as long as crops... Oh no, he's proved me wrong. So he's just picked up 319 tons of crops and he's going around this way, and you can see this train is running backwards and forwards. And you can see the problem now. We've got lots of trains running backwards and forwards, picking up very small quantities of crops. So one way you can fix that is by saying, wait until there's 10% in there. I actually can go to possibly 10%. We'll go to 10%. That's 800. What that will mean is that, because otherwise what you're going to get is trains running backwards and forwards like this. Now with electric trains, it's not quite so bad. But if you're running diesel trains, this is costing you money if they're not picking up full loads. So what you need to do is just adjust this. I think if we set this to 800 tons, we'll go there, because what we've probably delivered into here is probably more than enough to keep the... Yeah, we got 1,700 tons in here straight away. So what you see now is the trains will stop running. And what will happen is that this will just keep building up and building up. And to eventually, as crops comes in, we'll get 800 tons in it. Now, as a general estimate, you say we got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 24, 27, 3,000, 3,300, 3,006, 3,009, 4,200, 4,500. 800. So we got about 6,000 tons of crops to harvest. Plus we've still got a little bit left inside of here. Although this one's just finished. This one's still picking up the crops there. So we've got potential for about 6,000 tons of crops to harvest through the summer going into August. But this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.